What's going on, gamers? So I seen Dreamcast guy do a Steam Machine delayed video. Valve stopped selling Steam Decks and gamers panic. The funny thing is him saying hilarious stuff. Steam Machine dead in the thumbnail, which that's not surprising. Steam Deck makes sense, but the funny thing is him saying, and I didn't even watch only about a minute of it, that it may get canceled. I'm like, dude, why would they cancel it? That's absolutely hilarious. So I had to react to this. Let's get into this. Let me know what you guys think. Here we go. Like, comment, subscribe as usual. Let's go.
Hey there, gamers. Dreamcast guy here. Today we're talking about the Steam Machine and the Steam Deck because Valve published a very strange statement last night that has people kind of thinking that the Steam Machine very likely is going to be delayed. It's going to cost over $1,000 and very likely it may be outright canceled even though it was announced.
She said it may get delayed, bro, and now canceled. This guy's a character. Okay, yeah, delayed. We know that because Valve said that. But canceled, there's no chance of that. No, what they're doing is they're canceling the Steam Deck focus, canceling off the Steam Deck, and all the money they're going to spend on the components, not going to subsidize and don't want to be looked as anti-consumer, and they're going to put all that towards the Steam Machine. And they're sitting there pondering, like, what is this price going to be? What is the release date going to be? How are we going to do this? You know what I mean? That's for sure 100% going on, and that's what's going to be happening.
And the reason why is because Valve just said officially they can't make any more Steam Decks.
Yeah.
That there is just not enough computer parts on the planet to make more Steam Decks, and this is basically the parts that are going into a Steam machine. And I want to talk about this because I'm a big believer in the Valve push into hardware, mostly because there really isn't truly a fully independent space in the hardware gaming market. Whether you're talking about PC parts, Nvidia and stuff, or even, of course, consoles, Nintendo, Microsoft, Sony, these companies are all publicly traded. They have stock options and investor boards and all these like old dudes in suits who determine everything about it. Part of what makes the Steam Deck and the Steam Machine so cool to me is that this thing rocks purely because Valve wants it to be good, right? They're not really doing this for any other reason. They think it's cool that you can play Elden Ring literally on a handheld, that you can put in mods and customizations or reshell it. You can put emulators. You can put freaking Linux on this thing, right?
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Bro's battery's at 4%. Charge it up, bro. Yeah, it is cool that Valve is private. I do like that. That's one of the cool things, and I'd never want them to go public. So I think Gabe's going to stay around as long as possible and probably try to like have people trained to where they can continue that on.
Right? I do think that there is a raw importance to the Steam Machine and the Steam Deck even existing, and it sounds like maybe they're running out of road. This tech shortage worldwide is going to hit Valve first because they don't have that trillions of dollars these other companies have to make those hard investments and basically buying chip factories for future production. But let's discuss. Hi, hope you're having a great day. If you could please give this video a like and subscribe if you haven't already. So last night, a lot of people started noticing that on the Valve website, it started to say Steam Decks are out of stock. Now, not just in the US, worldwide. They said straight up, we can't ship it to you. You can't pre-order it. You can't get a tag in on the next batch. There are no Steam Decks. Per Valve, Steam Deck OLED may be out of stock intermittently in some regions due to memory and stock shortages. And then they clarified that they're out worldwide. They added a note clarifying Steam Decks are currently out of stock due to the shortages of memory and storage. It doesn't look good for Steam machines.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. How much are they going to be able to actually get, though? The thing that sucks is that I was hoping they would have had some supply already stacked up and ready. Like you would have already made 1 million by now, and you had some type of agreement somewhere, but it seems like that's not the case here. And obviously, they're not going to get the deals over the publicly traded companies, of course, and then the AI feed companies. As we saw, SK Hynix and Samsung, you know who they gave the priorities to. I read it to you guys. Dell, Apple, Asus, and Lenovo. So, and then Microsoft's trying to get their deals. You know what I mean? And then outside of that, if you look elsewhere, you got Samsung themselves. They need their stuff for their mobile devices. And there's other mobile devices. China needs their stuff as well. too as well, on top of other companies who are doing AI data feed. It just sucks because when you think about companies like Valve, they're not going to get any priority because they're thinking about, oh, this thing, we probably won't even sell. What, you're going to sell like 6-7 million lifetime in the next 5 or 6 years? Why would I look at that when I know they can pull me 100 million every year and stuff like that, or sell like this much, and they have this type of priority to make me much more money in the public. And that's exactly the way greed works. You know this, and the way the industry works in general. So they're not going to give them the deal that they're looking for. So they have to think about how they want to do this.
Now, the thing is that the Steam Machine is, of course, not one-to-one parts. Obviously, different styles of parts. But the Steam Machine is about 6 times more powerful than the Steam Deck. In a lot of ways, it seems like there's a lot of overlap in production. It did seem like they're sort of like the supply lines that are making the Steam Decks are the people that are making the Steam Machines. And it seems like maybe they're just realizing that hopefully this means they're trying to use their limited resources to sort of free up those Steam Machine parts. Yeah. But I'll admit that the fact that they're having to stop selling the Steam Deck completely, this to me is massive, massive, massive alarm bells. The Steam Deck, in my opinion, is one of the greatest pieces of tech that has been made in the last 20 years. And I've talked about this in other videos. I was never really a big PC gamer. I've always very much liked the console experience.
Same.
You pop in a disc, the controllers auto update, everything works instantly, right? If the game crashes, it automatically sends a bug report. It's super, super plug and play easy. The Steam Deck won me over in such a big way to not just using Steam, but just to the ease of use of PC gaming. Auto cloud saves, the fact that I can just dock this and play it on my TV, the fact that it automatically recognizes any controller, right? I do think that there is an importance to the Steam Deck, to the entirety of gaming, and the fact that it's just gone because of these shortages, I think that at the very least, I bet Valve is starting to say, maybe we shouldn't do the Steam Machine, right? Because it's pretty obvious the point of the Steam Deck was to lead into the Steam Machine. Hey, all right, you've probably got a PC, you're probably going to have a Steam Machine as a sort of like fun hybrid console version of Steam, and then of course your Steam Deck for playing Steam on the go, right? The fact that this is gone, a lot of people are starting to say, the Steam Deck is probably in a bad spot. So people are talking here. So we've added a note, Steam Deck's out of stock. People are like, oh man, with all this RAM stuff going on, because I might have to pull the trigger and just grab a Steam Deck immediately. Well, I called this back in December. Valve legitimately does not have the Steam Deck in stock anymore. Absolutely insane.
Yeah, we were talking about that with the other models that got canceled out. That's what I was saying. I think something is going on here. And they're doing that to prioritize on the Steam Machine. But I don't know what he's talking about, thinking about any type of canceling. Dude, that's not going to happen. They're just deciding how to do this right. They can't get that far and stop. There's no way, dude. What they're going to do, like I said, is just probably wait it out. And if they have to launch it at the second half of the year, they might have to do that. Because they're like, we do want to launch it the first half. But, I mean, the way things looking, Valve may have to wait. There's nothing wrong with delaying if it's not ready. So if you want to launch it the second half, that's okay. But this gives you the idea of the PS6. This gives you the idea of the Magnus. It gives you the idea of any future product coming out. The Steam Deck 2. The Xbox handheld that Microsoft may want to try, which is going to be rough. I don't know how they're going to be able to get that off. I mean, they have to be very careful with that. The Switch 2 OLED, the Switch 2 Lite, like, though I think Nintendo has a different method for that. But even then, the PlayStation handheld, everything, all GPU cards, you see, they're all pushed back, and it's all annoying. It's like, really?
A lot of people are just pointing out the fact that this is probably going to get a lot worse. You may be aware of the bad news concerning RAM shortages. GPUs are in short supply, solid states are in short supply, and 4 times the price they were last year, and hard drive manufacturers are sold out for the rest of the year, with shortages expected until 2028. Now, this is one part I kind of wanted to highlight. This might be a bit of a lie. Part of the problem with these like publicly traded companies is sometimes they stuff that isn't really true, right? I mean, Xbox lies a lot. Xbox talks about the profitability of Game Pass while at the same time saying they're super deep underwater because of Game Pass, right? But my point here is the fact that these companies are probably saying, wow, everybody wants to just pre-order every single one of our storage drives. Invest. We're the most profitable company on the planet. This is probably a little BS, but I wouldn't be surprised if everything is sold out until at least 2027, which is wild because it's February 2026. What happens if that really is happening, right? What if Valve didn't get a chance to set up those deals, set up those contracts, really put in their bids for this chips and the storage, and they simply can't even physically make the Steam Machine until 2027. What happens then, right? I think it's terrifying we even have to ask that question. Oh my gosh. Valve breaks its silence on the...
Yeah, it's up to them if they decide they want to deal with the memory and market conditions at the moment, and if they could keep getting worse and worse over time, and then they're like, what the hell? Okay, we got to delay. That depends on the other aspect. This is where even being a private company, they're being affected by public components. It sucks. And there's not much they can do about that except try to decide the best possible release date and price point depending on how things are going.
Deck OLED scarcity, and yes, it is because of the RAM shortage issue. Thanks, AI. All you slop accounts are a disease. Here's your Potato Stock too. So yeah, a lot of people are like, man, this is just it. Can the AI bubble pop already? Everybody is discussing this because it is going to trickle down. Things keep getting worse alongside the PlayStation 6 and the Switch 2 news. This is something we reported on yesterday, which is that there have now been leaked talks that internally Sony and Nintendo are starting to sort of say, okay, how are we going to do with this? Like, Sony has released statements that currently they have enough storage, but what happens when they run out of the current stuff, right? If a PlayStation 5 costs $550, but the raw parts cost them $450, they can keep that price at $550, right? But what happens when suddenly those raw parts cost $700 or $800? They just, as a company, can't afford to make it at the same price. I understand those price increases, like on a paper level, like already apparently they're...
It's not only that either. They don't want to be seen as anti-consumer because Valve's just not going to subsidize because somebody's putting them in that position. But that makes them look like they have to price it like that and sell it to you at that price. Nobody's going to want to buy it like that. So if it's going to be sitting there like that, you might as well remove it because it's just like, this is the end of the line at the moment. My hand is being forced by the public. Yeah, it sucks.
A lot of talks they're talking about increasing the cost of the Nintendo Switch 2, which in my opinion is already too expensive. But what happens if this just hits everything? Like, what happens if, like, part of the reason I was so excited for the Steam Machine is that I liked the idea of a third path, right? Here's the console experience. You know, that's pretty cheap in a lot of ways. Here's the PC experience, which is more expensive, but way more customizable, way more online multiplayer, way more interesting stuff that makes it your true experience, even from the ability that you can build your own PC, but it's more expensive. I always thought that part of the appeal of the Steam Machine to me was the fact that it was this third separate path, a cheap entryway into hardcore PC gaming. And now that's just vanished. Even crappy products that aren't really selling, like the ROG Ally X, which is sort of like the souped up version of a Steam Machine, basically double the price for about 40% more power. Even they are now doing a giant price increase in certain parts of the world.
Oh, that's terrible. Plus, it has Windows 11 too, and all that extra nonsense. The Steam Machine is way better built for gaming.
It's just making me think that
I'm gonna have to talk about that probably in a video.
Shortages. This is a thing that makes me think, what happens if they have to come out and say, hey, we actually can't make the Steam Machine? It's a very, very bleak time. I am still in the space, personally, where I truly believe the AI bubble is going to pop. There are so many people now, even a lot of people at the top of like NVIDIA and stuff, who are sort of saying that betting the entire world economy on this $1 trillion plagiarism machine, something that's stealing all data, that's supposed to basically replace all art and all employees. Like, the promises of AI are so ridiculously ambitious that it's exciting investors, but I just truly don't think it's going to keep up. All these worldwide server farms and all this new infrastructure and the raw strain on power grids. Maybe I'm too focused on the gaming window of this, but it just feels like AI cannot really be handled by the world. Like, they're trying to rebuild the entirety of society to fit this narrative of these bots. When I think a lot of people more and more are saying, I don't want to have triple the power bill. I don't want to pay triple the price for games. I don't want to pay triple the price of everything for more AI slop. And I think this pushback is going to hit a point where when the bubble pops, I hope we see a significant and immediately price drop. I have said this before, and I will say it again. If they can get the Steam Machine to under $400 somehow, it's going to take over the planet. The Steam Machine...
All right, you guys let me know what you think. $400. I mean, come on, Jim. Dude, that's never gonna happen. They're never gonna sell it that cheap. Are you kidding me? No, they were thinking about 700. I remember when Linus Tech called them on the phone. He was like $600 just before the RAM stuff, and everything was quiet. If they can get it to 600, you'd be like, okay, Valve is doing something. Dude, we're in a generation where nothing goes down, but something does have to go down after this AI bubble pops for sure, because it's not going to work, and they're going to realize they need deals. They need to get back to what always worked and stop being morons for sure. So let me know what you guys think about this. Like, comment, subscribe as usual. You know, got to react to Dreamcast guy. It's always fun reacting to his videos. But that's the thing, yeah. I mean, the Steam Deck is for sure canceled for now, for sure. I don't see Valve trying to focus on it when they have to get everything right with their new product, the Steam Machine. You see? They have to get everything right with that because that's their next focus. And I don't see them focusing on the Steam Deck anytime soon. If anything, they might want to introduce a Steam Deck 2 in the future once things get better and align that with the Steam Machine and the Steam Frame. And yeah, who knows when this AI bubble will pop? I'm thinking probably 2027 if that's the case. But before then, yeah, I mean, they may have to delay it out of the first half of the year. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment down below. Peace out. Keep gaming.